Hey everybody, BeyondDrewTV here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new / offshoot series of the video that I just released a few days ago that everyone seemed to really enjoy, which was one where we looked at the zoo concept art and videos and blueprints and stuff like that. So yeah, while I was making that one, I had the idea to kind of take that idea a little bit further and look at actual real life zoos across the world, basically, and just kind of look at what makes them work and what, look at different habitats that they have, what's similar about different zoos, what's different, how do different types of zoos design and stuff like that, and see, what we can kind of learn and take away from, again, just real life zoos, and apply it to our Planet Zoo builds when it finally releases there. So cool, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and start with the Brookfield Zoo today. We're starting with this zoo because it is my home zoo, the one that I'm most familiar with. I've been going here since I was in grade school, basically. We went grade school, middle school, high school. Even after I graduated high school, we try and go as much as we can just because it's a really amazing zoo. It's been around for a long time, has a lot of rich history. They're pretty well known in at least the zoo world, I guess, for a lot of different houses, a lot of their innovations in habitat design and stuff like that. So it's an excellent zoo. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and we're gonna back out here. We were in the main plaza area. We're gonna talk about that in just a minute, but what I'd like to do is kind of back up here, because if you don't know, if this is your first time kind of hanging out in the channel, the kind of builds that I like to do and I've been known to kind of do since Planet Coaster, focus more on the realism. I try and make things, at least from a realistic standpoint, if I can accomplish it in the game. So that kind of breaks it all the way down to the basics of parking here. I mean, you got to think of that. So if you're kind of wanting to play the game that same way, you might want to think about this as well, where, the map is definitely big enough. If you scale things more to a real life scale or a guest scale, that you can definitely fit in a pretty sizable parking lot, as well as like a full entrance area and the rest of your zoo, and fit in all of the ideas that you want to do there. So and something kind of fun to take away from this parking lot is you can definitely see a divide, can't you? So I know just from going there, and actually I didn't even notice. You can see right here a little hint to what this is. The parking lots are split into two because this is a bus parking lot now. But I'm sure that when it was first built, that it was not originally built as a bus parking lot. And then you can see this is the guest parking lot, a little bit more gussied up and nice over here, right? We have some trees for shade, and I don't know, it just looks nicer a little bit, right? And then you have pavement, just asphalt. So and again, with my builds, a big thing, and I've mentioned in a few of the past videos, is lore, or the idea of again, lore would apply to this parking lot, where if we were building this in Planet Zoo and I built this like this, it would be the zoo at one point used this parking lot for regular guest parking, but over the years they just kind of let it wasn't as popular, or they opened up another parking lot on the other side of the zoo, which is true. So there's two entranceways, so this isn't the only entranceway, so they can kind of let this parking lot fall into disrepair and just use it for parking for buses, whatever it may be. But those little quirks and ticks, for builds are a really fun thing to do there. So we'll go ahead and swing the camera around here and zoom on in and look at this entranceway, because it is kind of unique. I don't know if I've seen any other zoos, or the only other theme park I can think of that does this is I think Knoebels, I think, does this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm getting is that the entranceway is underneath this roadway. So you have this main, public roadway here, and the way to get in there, we'll go ahead and drop our guy down right there. If we turn around, this looks crusty, nasty. When is this? December 2017. There you go. So, but yeah, look, it goes right underneath the roadway there onto the other side, and then the other side is where the actual zoo is. And if you're wondering, by the way, the zoo is open all year round. So, and they have free days. I might go there during the cold months, during like November, December, January, and take a walk around. So, because it's free, and most of the animals are inside, but hey, it's still free. We'll go do a vlog from there or something. But yeah, then it pops you out on this other side there, and I think it's a really cool idea. Again, just that it, you know, pops you out, and you have this nice photo opportunity there. And let me spin the camera 360. But yeah, you walk up this little hillside, and there's kind of your main entranceway. And if you've been following the channel for a little bit, you'll know this. But if you haven't, in Planet Coaster, I've been building a zoo for a little bit now called Green Hills Zoo, and I pretty much took this entire entrance plaza area, which I'll back up just a little bit so you can see it. There we are. I pretty much took this entire plaza area and entranceway like this and ripped it off and built it in Planet Coaster for Green Hills Zoo. So when Planet Zoo does fully release, I will be recreating Green Hills Zoo in that. So yeah, I'll be taking this whole area and kind of recreating it for sure. But something really cool to take away from this that I wanted to touch on is, and I think this was the big reason for this is because of the time constraint, but most of the zoos, if not all of the zoos that I saw, they kind of entered in, and it just was like, here's a habitat, and here's a habitat, and now here's a drinking area. Oh, and here's a habitat. You know what I mean? It's just like you came in and it was like habitat, 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 habitat. There was no room for it to breathe. I was definitely guilty of it too for my first few zoos, and I had to kind of take a step back until I kind of started building Thornton Zoo, which kind of turned out pretty okay for the beta zoo. But yeah, just this idea, if you come in here to the main plaza, there's really no habitats, right? There's no animals. The only thing you have right here is this green tent, which is your butterfly exhibit, which those are only on exhibit every once in a while. I think I've seen them there just a few times. But if you see, yeah, you have the carousel. You know, I have a carousel here with a really beautiful cover to it. We'll go in first person mode and take a look at all this. But it's very similar to a theme park when you enter in, meaning that, you know, you got your stuffed animals, so a gift shop here, restrooms right there with another gift shop, keep circling around. Back here is a conference center, pretty much, another summer tent sale, you know, just more gift shops. But yeah, this is like a restaurant / conference center, pavilion kind of thing, so that's not even really anything zoo related, it's just another building. Something to touch on here is you can see the stark difference between these two, where this touching on lore again. This building has obviously been here for a little bit. I believe this used to be the old main entrance building for the zoo, until they kind of switched it around and had the entrance diverted underneath of the road like that. I'm pretty sure that the entrance was, this was the main entrance building off this main road, which is right behind, like that. So yeah, if I was a guessing man and I haven't looked into it, I think there's more people that have. I'm sure there was like a walkway over, and this was the main entrance building and stuff. So yeah, just again the idea, you know, that we have this carousel, and it's almost like a theme park entrance, gift shops and a little ride, and you know, there you go. So. And these little stalls everywhere too. These are really nice to kind of put around. Woo! So you see those a lot too. There we go. The other thing to take away from the entrance plaza, and I did this in Green Hills Zoo as well, is your backstage. We talked about that with concept art, right? Where you have to have backstage, and if you're, again, this is really if you're up to it and you're interested in this kind of building, the realism, or almost making a miniature model, basically, with Planet Zoo. You know, you have a backstage parking as well, and it's really neat because this hooks up to the next big thing I wanted to talk about, which is your habitats here. So as you can see here, your habitats kind of, or your backstage parking hooks up to this backstage building, and if we look directly over top, in front of it is your guest path, and then what is it, 1, 2, 3, about 4 different habitats right here. And these are very small. If you were to, you know, if you look at our little measuring thing right there, they're about, I'd say about 10 or 12, like 12 by 12 basically. And in Planet Zoo standards, that'd be way, way, way too small for almost every single decent sized animal. And the ones that hang out here are big cats, so I'm assuming like lions and stuff. I can't really remember. I haven't been, I can't remember from the last visit. So the idea here is that if you wanted to make this work with animal welfare in Planet Zoo, you'd have to have your habitat extend further back into this backstage building, and that's what they do as well. You see that where there'll be a door or something. I believe it's like right back in here. It's kind of hard to tell either way you look at it, but it goes back into like a backstage or their I guess their sleeping quarters, their hangout area. Out here is just their enrichment area. And another thing to take away, if you can see it, is this trench. And I had a few people asking me this for my grizzly bear habitat, because I did something very similar. And definitely use your trench tools in Planet Zoo to kind of create this. But yeah, it creates a natural little barrier between the pathway and your guests there. So, but yeah, that's a lot of cool stuff to take away there. Oh, and the last thing to take away is that this is a house, so while it's all multi-purpose, really. You can see bigger animals from the outside here when you want to, but then you can also come up over this way and go inside. And then, it's called Desert's Edge, so they have desert animals and stuff like that. So you don't see just these big animals out here. You see, your smaller animals like little creepy crawlies and maybe small rodent, whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a huge multi-purpose house, and they have those kind of spread all around here. You got your 7 Seas over here, which is kind of connected to your pinniped point with like sea lions and stuff like that. So yeah, just the idea of multi-purpose houses and habitats all together there. So next thing I wanted to touch on, let's see, there it is. Kind of the same thing, but you see Tropic World here. And if those of you that followed the Planet Zoo beta series I did with Thornton Zoo, this might look a little bit familiar there, because I took big inspiration from that. But this is kind of the idea that putting multiple kind of, I guess, bigger animals in one house and not spreading them out all over the place. So right next to it, you have, like, I guess you'd say a quote unquote like normal habitat, where this animal probably likes to be out and doesn't have to have such a controlled environment. So they have just this, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but they can just kind of be out and about, it looks like there. Inside here is a Tropic World / Primate House. That's the word I was looking for. Primate House. So different primates for different continents, like Africa, South America, Asia, you name it, like that. So and they have them all inside this ginormous house there. And again, I think it's an interesting idea. And a lot of the zoos that I go to personally, you definitely see that houses are a big thing. And the reason for, I'm from Chicago, or just outside Chicago, Illinois. We get nasty, nasty winters here. It can drop down to, -50 Fahrenheit, for some of the weeks and stuff like that, with, a couple feet of snow. So, this is a must have to. And this house here was, it was the first of its kind, from what I've read up on. Basically just putting a giant house with, really themed up and like their natural habitat inside. So, but yeah, it's kind of like that idea there. And you kind of see, again, more houses, the pachyderm house with your rhinos and stuff, and kind of the same idea as our big cat house over that way, or Desert's Edge, where this is their enrichment area, but then they file back into the house if they need to, if it's too cold or bad weather. And you can get a good look at how this might work in Planet Zoo. Right there, they have a little door, so you can make your habitat go back in there, and create doorways and stuff for your animals to go back. And another thing to take away is that you can see that they took a theme park idea of creating a facade, which that's not a theme park idea, that's a movie idea that theme parks took. But yeah, creating a facade on the building, so it's not just a square, building, but they have this rocky facade on it. We can definitely accomplish that in Planet Zoo, no problem, man, no problem at all. Next thing I wanted to talk about was right here, the Great Bear Wilderness area. One of my favorite areas in Brookfield Zoo. I'm going to take a lot of inspiration from this, and I kind of already started to a little bit with Thornton Zoo, but this is the North American section. They have bison and bears, as the name sounds. But something really unique to start with here is this is the Bison Habitat here, and see if you can see it real quick. But here's the main pathway, and see how it kind of disappears right there and comes back out. And that is because if you look here, there is a terrain bridge over top for the bison to go over top, and then you can kind of see this if you go into person view. There it goes. If you look over, you should see it. There they are. Hi, son. Bye, son. There's our bison. And then there's that bridge right over top there. And something else that's really cool is this is a newer-ish exhibit. It's within the last 10 years, right? Yeah, July 2011. So within the last 10 years. And you really get the idea of theming in comparison to almost to the rest. I'm going to back all the way up because this is like a main pathway for the zoo here. But as you come into this area, you can really, come on, focus, you can do it, there you go. You can really see the sense of theming, can't you? Where the pathway looks a little bit different. You can tell they put in the North American, you know, pines and different trees and stuff like that. Did some really, really nice thematical rock work. Here's some of your education areas, so that is a thing that you need there. I mean, as you come into the tunnel, just more things about, you know, bisons and buffaloes and tatankas, all that education stuff. But yeah, I just, sorry, excuse me. I think it's a really cool idea to kind of mix the two for your zoos, meaning, you know, mixing if something was a newer build or was something an older build with the original zoo. Well, if it was with the original zoo, it probably looks, you know, more run down, or maybe more brick, more that kind of material, not as themed, you know, more usefulness out of substance or whatever. So, but then you get into these newer areas, and again, you can really see where, you know, there was some thought put into the theming and stuff like that, and you know, trying to just envelop the guest into the habitat or the world of the animal that you're in there. So cool ideas there. And the last thing I want to take away from this area with the bear habitat, kind of hard to see from up here. We'll try and get some down below or guest point of view shots. But this bear habitat houses three different bears in all here. And they're all North American bears, I believe. So I think it's like the polar bear, black bear, and then brown bear. And it's kind of neat. You can see this pathway right here going into this show building, and we're trying to get a good view. The last time I looked, there was just a blurry picture. Let's see if I can get a different one this time. That's a little bit better. It's a weird perspective, but yeah, this is the building that you can come into, and you can see right here, this window right there, that looks out into the polar bear area, and then there's another window or another little area, a little drop down area. You see these steps, it drops down into a viewing area for like the brown bear or black bear, and then all around it, you know, there's pictures of different educational things. So again, the education is definitely a big thing in real zoos, and not just a Planet Zoo thing. But again, a little bit hard to tell, but hopefully you can see. It's kind of neat that, you know, this one building looks out over into this one, looks out into this one, and I believe that there's a little hallway, and then that poops you out right over here, and you can look into this habitat. So really cool there. So, and then the last thing I wanted to touch on and look at is the idea, or what they do. Oh yeah, there it is, Swan Lake. Is this trail here. A little bit hard to see. We'll try and find the entranceway. There it is. Kind of hard to see, but I like this idea of having a nature trail or a natural trail that utilizes the natural area that you're in. So again, for Brookfield Zoo, it's located just outside Chicago, so in northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin area, you know, really heavy north backwoods kind of thing. And there's no, like, to my knowledge or memory, there's no like caged animals, you know, like a zoo or anything like that. It's just walking, it's just under a mile long, and just walking around and looking at, you know, the natural birds and wildlife and bugs, you know, you name it, and just kind of walking around this little swampy lake there. So I think it's a really cool idea. You could do something like this in Planet Zoo. Chances are, you know, unless you put up some node fencing and like maybe small animals that go around, guests won't really go back there. But again, it's kind of a cool idea to have just like a nature trail to kind of just play off of the natural animals that are kind of already in the area. So, but yeah, hey, I'm going to go ahead and I think that's all I wanted to kind of cover there, looking at Brookfield Zoo for our first episode here of, you know, looking at IRL zoos and applying what we can from them to Planet Zoo. So, but yeah, what did you think there? Can you use any of that information? Did you learn something new? And also, do you have a zoo in mind? I have a few in mind already. Like I said, we did the Brookfield today. I want to look at the San Diego Zoo, possibly the Houston Zoo, and then I think the Bronx Zoo for the U.S. But I want to look at some overseas. I have a few in the U.K. that some people have told me about. But other than that, what are some other zoos that we should look into and you know, take inspiration from? So, but hey, if this is your first time hanging out, don't forget the subscribe button there. Stay up to date with the channel and all the videos coming out in between. You know, now and the full release of Planet Zoo there, and also hit the like button there. Helps out the channel, helps out the video. So hey, thanks so much everyone for hanging out, and until the next episode of this or anything else, have a good one.